Thank you for joining us on Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom, recording number 90. I'm your host, Greg Galb, and we've got a great gang as usual. We've got Lef, John, Chuck, Paul, Kyle is revisiting us, Karsten, Leo, Frank Peter, Mike, Jim, Scott, Mr. Petrucci, aka Tony P, Iceman, Frank, Garth, Big Den, and other people. And we're going to chat about slot cars. Does anybody have anything they want to show and or tell? Raise your virtual hand if you can, so I may make sure I don't miss you. Raise your real hand if you want to, but I might miss you. Frank Peter has something to show and or tell. Go ahead, Mr. Frank Peter, and then we'll get to the others.
Okay. I'll show you my progress on the timekeeper's hut. Okay.
All right, ditch that 40-minute limit. Wow.
Okay, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
The colors are right.
Are you already done?
Blue and yellow.
Yes, I want that person. Send him to me.
Okay. This is how I started with carving the Styrofoam or XPS foam. I covered it with heavily diluted PVA glue as protection for the primer. This is the building primed, painted, and this is was my first attempt with mortar. It's a modeling paste mixed with acrylic paint, and I filled the joints so it looked like a real wall. And, MRC packaging I have used for making I can't pronounce it, linoleum floors.
Perfect.
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. And this is the floor for the upper structure. These are popsicle sticks for the wooden floor. And this is the floor when I've done with the weathering. It looks really old, as you can see.
Yep.
The windows also scratch built from packaging material, cardboard boxes, and the glass is from blister packaging. The brickwork, moss on the outside. I go a bit faster. There are many pictures. This is balsa wood. Painted and weathered, even rusty nails.
Yep.
Stripes. Advertising on the building. So this was it. And one thing I want to show you is moss on the inside. Sterling moss.
Yep.
And I've built from an electric toothbrush head. I've built a coal stove, scratch built coal stove. This is the end result.
Nice.
This bit from the toothbrush. This upper piece is a button from my shirt. And this is a straw.
Yep.
And that's to hide the electric wires, so you don't see them. Okay, this was it. Thank you.
Very nice, and clever use of found materials to just turn into pot-bellied stoves and fire hydrants and things like that.
For recycling.
Recycling and using them to hide the wiring for the lights and things. Is there going to be like a flickering orange light for the stove, or does that pass through to the floor below?
Well, it goes to the floor below and to the upper building has ook LED lights.
Yeah.
Stove. That's the next time. A bit more advanced.
Yeah. But we know you could do it if you wanted to.
That's brilliant.
I'll try.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, beautiful work. Does anybody have any questions for Frank Peter on how he does his masterful work?
Wow, totally amazing. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, just wow.
I gotta start wearing out more pens.
So you have
I use them for everything.
just got to think outside the box, and see what they could be rather than what they are.
Okay.
Very cool. Thank you, Frank Peter. Next up, I've got Mike. Go ahead. What you got today, Mike?
Oh, I have. This is for Garth.
All
I had
right.
a new LMP. Had an interesting thing happen. I got it and I took it apart, took the magnet out right away to see how it would go. It was like a rocket. And it was like, wow, they really stepped up on the chassis. And then I put it on the magnet marshal, and it said it had 125 grams of magnetism. And I went, oh, I left the one in the back.
Oh, okay. I was going to say 2 magnets.
Huge difference in handling.
What kind of car is it?
It's the Lola, Mazda Lola.
Okay, what brand of car is it?
Oh, it's slotted. Sorry.
Thanks. I didn't recognize it from the body.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I have 3 of those that I can use for the group for non-mag LMP cars. So, because I've got the original Mazda livery with the cross yellow and green and dots in between. So I've got that one. So we'll have 3 of them for non-mag on that. So it's a good thing. And I took the O2 chip out of the other one, and I went, I am so done with O2 firmware trying and stuff like that I just got a regular SSD Type C chip, which I mounted sideways now this time, and it works fine. So that's a good thing too.
Okay, so you're confusing me with the words that are coming out of your mouth. So you were using the Type C chip with the Skeletor digital firmware and got frustrated with that.
Oh, yeah, the O2 chip.
Type C oxygen
Type C
chip, but
oxygen chip.
you weren't using the O2 firmware. You were using the Skeletor digital firmware.
Correct.
Did you test the most recent version
I tried. I couldn't get it to load.
Okay, so then when you removed the Type C chip, what chip did you install in its place?
The SSD Type C chip, which has got both infrared sensors. I can get the number.
I would appreciate that because I have no idea what you're talking about. Type C specifically refers to the oxygen chip that is capable of all of those different things.
It's an SP15C.
Okay, so the C version of the SP15. So instead of SP15B, it's SP15C. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and I think the only difference is the 2 infrared lights, infrared LEDs.
I think the main difference is their new wiring format.
Oh.
And
Okay.
I'm sure there are other revisions to the chip, but just to help keep things clear,
Sure.
always use SP15 when referring to that chip, whether it's Type B or Type C, because when you say Type C, that means oxygen.
Right.
Type C, that's what was throwing me off. So, but now
Okay.
it's working much better because it's a dedicated SSD chip. It's doing what it's expected to do.
Yeah.
I still haven't had a chance to try the most recent firmware, but yeah, I understand your frustration.
Well, if I was going to have them for the class, I decided, I better have something reliable that doesn't have any problems and I don't have to muck with it all. So at least I've got 3 of them that have good solid chips on them, and it'll work out that way.
Yeah.
And also my experiment with the Porsche 997 NSR, which I converted from Sidewinder to angle winder, was a complete success. It's now achieved parity almost with the Sideways cars that I've got, and that's a good thing.
Well, what did it?
Converting to angle winder, and I put the same motor in, the Raptor, the Sideways Raptor motor, so it's still got that same motor in it, but converting to angle winder, and of course the inherent 12 or 13 grams of downforce, depending upon where it is, did make a big difference. Although the motor that I got is not quite as good as the ones that came in the Sideways cars. It's a little bit slow, but it may break in. But I still won the race with it, regardless of being the slowest car.
Okay, so just to clarify, now that car has an identical motor and
Right.
identical motor configuration and
Right.
identical gear ratios.
Yes.
To the Sideways cars.
Yes.
Well, good that it works as good as the Sideways cars.
Yeah. I've been having a lot of trouble with getting the NSR cars to handle as well as the Sideways cars do.
Yeah.
So, and particular to my track for sure. But yeah, it was good that I could at least have a full, what I consider a full grid right now is 3 cars, but a grid of GT3 cars. So, or GT cars.
What did you do to get rid of the back and forth play in the front axle? Or some people call it.
That has not been corrected yet, but there's so far I think Chris Walker talked about some bushings for the front to put in there that would be movable, that you could do it. I haven't seen those yet. Neither has Alan at 132 slot. So I don't have any of those, but that's in the future. I'm gonna look at that. I haven't noticed that kind of problem as much, but my straights are about 14 feet long, so it's not super long or anything like that I noticed any problems. But the excessive ground clearance on the NSR is one problem that I've tried to get rid of with various tire methodologies, changing tire sizes and stuff, or sanding them down a little bit. And that hasn't been quite as effective. And I changed the chassis to the blue style chassis. This was the old Porsche 997 chassis that it was in it for a Sidewinder configuration. And that still didn't cut it. So once I changed to the angle winder configuration with the blue chassis, that seemed to be the factor that gave parity. So hats off to Chris Walker for steering me in the right direction when he said that angle winders are better on small turny tracks, because apparently they are, especially with magnetism.
Have you tried the white chassis?
No, I have not.
All my NSRs, I've run white chassis, white motor pods, the lot. Everything's all white underneath there, and they handle they stick to the track like shit to a blanket.
Those are the hard chassis, right?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
Okay, I've got the green.
I'm running on wood track though.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm also investigating suspension for the slotted cars to see how that's going to work, because it does seem to work a little bit better on that. Yeah, it's complete opposite than what I thought. I was with magnet cars. I was always trying to get the hard chassis and the firm as you would on wood tracks. So you have a solid platform that doesn't push down to the track with the magnets. Well, now, of course, when you're going magless, you don't have that. So you want the flexibility of the chassis. So it's sort of a complete turnaround.
On my Lancia, that's got suspension on the back of that. My slotted Lancia, it's got where the rear two screws go into the back. That is the suspension point. That's the only bit of suspension I have on it, is on the back. And the Jag. I've done the XJS Jag as well. The Silk Cut Jag. Can't remember what model it is.
Yeah, the Emmer slot car.
Yeah, they're both slotted, and they both got suspension. And they hunker down really nicely. I'm in the process of doing the Toyota as well, but they're all Group C cars.
I did the McLaren F1 full suspension, including the front suspension that's got an AR in it with springs, and that seemed to work pretty well. So I expected it would in the Jag 220 too.
Yeah. But it's worth a try. I mean, so I've had no problems, especially my Lancia. I'm racing my Lancia this Friday because it's Group C this Friday, and it's NSR Classics as well. So that's being done, both of them. So both of them are going to be running. See how they get on.
Cool. Okay. That's all from here.
Sorry, I had to wait for my phone to stop making noises. Thank you for sharing that, and good to hear that you had some success with your tuning things, and I'm sure we'll hear about progress on that in the future. Next on my show and tell list is Scott. What you got today, Mr. McPhee?
I picked up a new controller here. So you see one, I had seen the video where David was on a few months back, and had been curious about it ever since, like the being able to, I guess, see what you're doing with everything. Haven't really had a chance to play with it yet, since I just have a test track in the garage, and it's basically like skating on ice right now with the cold temperatures here. So hopefully getting a chance to test it out this weekend. But
yeah,
it looks good. I really like the trigger. So it's nice and soft. I mean, it's wiperless, so that makes a difference for me, especially being a lefty. That was always one of my challenges, I guess, pulling the wiper blade away from the thing. That we'll see how it runs, though. I mean, it's nice though.
Yeah, I'm jealous. That controller is so cool. So I definitely look forward to hearing, your personal take on it and how well it works on the track and all that jazz, for sure.
Yeah, I'm curious to test out the ABS. ESP.
I've already tested it.
What do you think, Henry?
The silence is it? I'm very fond of the graphs they make into it. It's made with Arduino also. And you can find your progressive stance, and you can see it in linear. And I'm really crazy about that idea. But at the end, in the middle range, we lost power. So I've had it for 3 weeks. I tested it in several tracks. It picks up in the beginning. It's fast at the end, but the middle circuit, we missed the power. So that's for me for this moment.
Is that did you test a variety of cars with different motors to see if it works better? And you feel the same kind of thing? And you're talking about in the middle of the trigger. So at the low end, you have good control, and at full speed, it feels okay. But in the middle, it feels muddy and not responsive, or just? Yeah,
not responsive at all. Yeah.
Is that regardless of how you have the curve set up, or?
Yes, of course. You have. It's a difficult one because it has lots of input, and you can do it. What I'm really fond like is you have a ghost mode.
Yeah,
and that's terrific. So there are many features that are very good at this controller, but at the end for racing at my club, it's not good enough. but I think they're going the right direction.
And it looks like it's the kind of controller that he might be able to issue firmware updates that the user can install. So if he discovers some kind of optimizing that he can do, then he might be able to send that out to the public and say, here, install this firmware using blah blah blah. Presumably, maybe.
The marketing of the product is very bad because there's nothing on the website.
What marketing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a small run that he was basically just kind of getting his feet wet into the whole controller building thing and designing a controller with the features that he wanted. And I thought his plan was to let some other company run with it after that. So
yeah, Z Machine was supposed to have taken over, but I haven't really heard whether they are or not.
Okay.
What's the brand name?
It's from
Silage.
Silage Racing. The guy that does the BLST routed digital tracks with the
very good job.
Yeah. David Kaya. The guy who does it. Yeah.
So I think they are on a good direction, but it's not there yet for racing. But for home tracks, terrific.
And and to be fair to you, Henry, I'm sure that you did as much testing as you could, but at the same time, it's a brand new controller with so many features that maybe there was some setting that was in there that you didn't find, or even today, people with the slotted controller still complain about not being able to get it to do what they want. So I don't know, maybe there's something in it, or maybe it's just personal driving style. Maybe.
We tested it because I know something, but at the club they know a lot more. So we tested it with 5 guys. Yeah. And with the top racers of the Netherlands.
And
they know what a controller has to do.
Well, still looking forward to seeing what Scott says and if he discovers anything interesting about it. And
I think the price is good. And it's terrific controller, but for a high end, not yet. But a high end controller is 400 euros.
That's true. Yeah. Honestly, I'm personally hoping that he decides to take this idea in and do an oxygen controller with those features. I think that would be pretty cool.
He's doing a digital one now.
I wanted to have this possibility to see on my screen what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, he did mention that he was planning to develop a digital system, and so that's what he's making his controller for, is his own digital system.
Yeah.
But yeah, I encouraged him to talk to Slotted about maybe making an oxygen version. So cross your fingers. All right, thanks for sharing that, Scott. And next on the we've got Frank. Go ahead, Mr. Sisto.
Well, it's interesting that Mike brought up the NSR Porsche 997 because I just got my first one yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Nice color.
Yeah, very cool. It hasn't even touched the track yet, but I was asking him about the slop in the front because I just went, what? I've never seen that in a car before, but this is what I did. If you can see the aluminum spacer in there.
So
it's just a 3/32 aluminum spacer, and then put it in there and then adjusted the axle accordingly with screws. And after I did that, I thought, well, let me look online and see what other people have been doing with that. And that's exactly what they were doing. So I felt good about it that way. This is only my second NSR car. I've got a P68 and now this one. And it's going to be interesting to see what this one will do. And then along when I did get a MR slot car, Mclaren as well, one of the Herods, and the detail and everything is really good. Front axle though is very interesting with these extra little slot. I guess that's to add suspension or something.
Yeah, that's what they're for.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure, and there's nothing that I can find online about tuning the on them or anything, but it is a nice looking car.
You tune them the same way as an NSR or a slotted.
Cool.
Pretty much.
Okay. Good. Yeah, I didn't. What's interesting is the NSR came with the grub screws for the front axle, but MR slot car did not. So now I got to find the right size grub screws for it so I can adjust that front axle. Well,
Oh, mine came with them.
Your MR slot car?
Yeah.
No, not mine.
Huh.
I don't know if maybe this is an older one or what have you, but yeah, no, the NSR, there was a little packet of grub screws with the slot car, didn't have them with it.
Was that from the original run of McLaren's, or is that from the? Oh, okay. Yes.
Probably.
Dennis nodded his head, so I'm thinking he didn't.
Which motor is in there?
I can't read it. It's too small.
Okay, yeah. Skeletor motor. That means it's one of the originals. Yeah.
So that's why
because
it did come with
after from the Marlboro livery onwards, they all have the flat six motor from slotted.
What I'm really impressed with on both cars is the gear mesh. Is so smooth on both cars.
Yeah.
Except I was surprised that the NSR has a 1331.
Have you got the angle winder or the side winder? The angle winder. Okay. Yeah.
1331. I thought, wow, I'm going to try it and see what it'll do. It seems too tall to me.
It's not.
Okay.
Don't forget, it's only a 21,000 RPM motor.
True.
And they're pretty torquey motors to begin
They're
with.
very torquey. That's the whole deal.
Gotcha. Okay, good.
And on your track, of course, you're going to get a little bit of magnetic downforce from the motor too.
From the motor itself, right. It'll be interesting to see what'll electric dreams.
Yeah. They go very well there.
Good. Okay.
Can you circle back on the NSR? So just to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, the front axle holders are so loose that you're able to shove a spacer into the hole?
Yeah.
Yes.
Into that slot.
Yeah. I was just shocked. I set the axle height and then I started looking at this, and you could wiggle it back and forth like this from left to right or back to front, however you want to look at it.
It'd be interesting to do a test with and without those spaces in there.
Yeah. Because some of the threads I read said that back and forth movement didn't affect the performance for them. And
I've never seen it ever.
Yeah.
It sounds like it wasn't. I mean, that's not a bad tolerance thing. It's intentional, yeah. So it wasn't intentional so that you could leave it super loose or put a bushing in there on purpose. Like it's wide enough specifically for a bushing to go in there.
And NSR actually sells a bushing pack.
Yeah.
To do that with this car.
That's probably what it is. Yeah.
I saw. Yeah. So they did that. Now, of course, I took it a step further and was hoping maybe a ball bearing would fit in there, but that's too big.
I think that's what Chris was talking about. A bushing that fits right in there. That size, a bronze bushing.
This
bushing from a slotted rear end.
Pardon?
The spherical bushing?
Bushing from a slotted rear pod.
The spherical bushing?
Yeah.
Really?
They fit in the front of the slotted. I've not tried it on an NSR, but they fit in the front of a slotted. You just take all those little plastic things out of it, and you raise or lower the ride height with the set screws, just as you would without it. But now it's much more precise.
Yeah, those were designed for those.
Yeah, MR slot car or Mazzetti are starting to make little bushings for that. But I guess that was what Chris was talking about.
And not legal in electric dreams, I found out.
I finally got around to doing the blueprinting on my Thunder slot for our Analog Club series, and I noticed that that on the Thunder slot pod it has flanged bushings for the rear axle, and those are super thin wall. Around the axle, it's a very thin wall. I wonder if that kind of thing is what goes into the front of the NSR.
Could be. Although I was able to fit a ball bearing in the rear of my Thunder slots.
Okay. Yeah, they are.
I did have to ream it out ever so slightly.
Yeah, it's just thin where it exits the hole on the other side on the wheel side of the Yeah, okay. That's what I'm thinking of. Anyway, got that trued. It runs nicely. So if you haven't seen the video from yesterday. All right, thank you, Mr. Sisto. And next up, Kyle, you ready to go?
I hope so, if my kids stop screaming long enough.
No worries.
Let's see. Can you see that?
Some CAD work.
It is CAD work. So last week I ended up with the flu. So I sat in this chair and figured out how Blender works. So I drive a concrete pump for a living, and I decided I would model one and try to 3D print it when I get a 3D printer.
Sweet.
So that took a better part of a week to do that one.
I bet.
So I ended up starting with the cabin chassis, and then finished that, and then did the boom section. And then by the time I was done the boom, I noticed I was quite a bit better than when I started. So I redid the chassis. And then the other one that I just finished last night was this.
Oh, wow.
So that's a 409 Chevy with a cross ram intake on it.
Yep.
Nice.
So that one wasn't terrible. The water pump and the intake manifold were the hardest ones, and it's not perfect, but I think it's good enough when it's like 3/4 of an inch long and 3D printed. So
it looks like you might have some surface errors where you've got your booleans flipped or something like that.
Yeah, that happened when I applied the one modifier. Yeah. But when you export it as a STL into a slicer program, it does come up fine.
Okay.
So,
cool. Are you gonna design a slot car based chassis for that concrete pumper?
Yeah, I'm gonna build a brass chassis. So
nice.
I'm not sure. I've considered using 2 Sidewinder motors on the back, and I've considered that, or kind of developing sort of a gear drive and a drive shaft, and a couple of supports off the pinion gear on the motor to drive the second axle.
You're like the Frank Peter of Blender.
There you go. No. And that is not an easy program to figure out.
I ended up doing about 20 minutes and then watch a YouTube video, and then you do 20 minutes and watch a YouTube video. So that's yeah. I'm almost ready to forget how to do this.
Yeah. I don't know. Does anybody have a car that's not on the market anywhere that Kyle needs to model up for you?
No, I'm done.
Yes,
I'm done.
I got to tell Kyle, I tried Blender. I gave up after about 15 or 20 minutes. That's spectacular work, really.
I was not about to pay for any CAD software. Yeah. So I had pretty well, by the end of this week, I'll have 2 full weeks. So I think there's a lot more people that can do a better job in learning this 2 weeks than me, but
I don't know.
Good enough.
Don't sell yourself short. That's both of those things that you showed are pretty good for a couple of weeks learning.
I think it's amazing after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's my little story. And then
awesome.
I got an email notification that my new third eye controller is at the store, but I'm not allowed to leave the house to go and get it. So
oh no, you got to finish quarantining or something?
Yeah, my wife has COVID right now. So
that sucks.
And I don't, so who knows, right?
Everybody got to stay safe. Hope everybody gets better soon.
She's on the game, so that's the important part.
Good deal. Awesome. Well, thanks for showing off, Kyle. Hopefully, once you're done, come and show that off again at some point. That'd be cool.
Well, that requires a 3D printer first.
I know a guy.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah. Well, there you go, Greg. It would be possible for you to print something like that, wouldn't it?
I mean, I'd have to take a look at it in the software, but yeah, most likely. But yeah, it sounds like Kyle's is looking forward to getting a printer at some point.
I'm kind of waiting for the Prusa XL to. I want to see what kind of layer height that's capable of.
Oh, that's going to be the same as the Prusa. I mean, it's still filament printing, right? So
yeah, the other thing is I want at least 2 to 3 extruder heads, because I think I'm going to need water soluble support for the pump.
Yeah.
Just the way it's working, and I'm not about to babysit it and change filament back and forth.
No, I mean, honestly, I already pre-ordered the XL because it looks awesome, and I wanted a large format printer anyways. But the main reasons to get the XL is because it's a large format printer, you know, so 36 by 36 by 36 centimeters is a fairly large printer area volume. Yeah. And multiple tool heads. You could do the soluble filament using the MMU like I have on my Mark III, but soluble filament is just a hassle no matter what, because it's so hygroscopic that you have to store it in a dry box as it's printing, or else it will absorb moisture from the air while you're printing and ruin the print.
Right.
For what I saw, I'm thinking resin printing is the way to go, just because it, you know, I think that design for the motor as well as the
motor, when I slice the motor in Prusa slicer, the intake doesn't exist. It's too small.
Yeah, I mean, there's some tricks to getting stuff like that to print on a filament printer, but resin is absolutely the way to go for anything with high detail. And your pump truck has all those intricate pipes and things like that. I would, you know, having access to both, I would choose the resin printer for both of those models.
Well, my buddy just bought a resin printer. He lives like 20 minutes away from me, but he doesn't want to tackle something like that yet.
If he's just getting into the resin printing hobby, then there's some learning to figure out.
My thought was to buy a filament printer, and that way between the two of us we would have both. But I was thinking that the resin printer would be definitely the way to go for those.
Yeah, so I would agree with that. I would also say that one of the you probably don't need the XL just because it's such a big printer, and it's not going to have higher resolution capability as far as layer thickness than the Mark III or any other filament printer for that matter. You know, you could get an Ender 3 if you want to, you know, learn how to do tweak it and get it running real well and get really good quality thin layers off of that. But yeah, I think it's a good idea for you to do filament and your friend to do resin. The problem, unless he's got a fairly large format resin printer, he might not be able to fit that whole pump truck in one print. He might have to divide it up into bits and pieces to glue together.
Yeah, so I have the pump at 37th scale, and it's about 7 3/4 inches long at 37th scale.
Yeah.
So
I don't think my Mars 2 or my Mars Pro would fit that, even at an angle it would like be at the limits, and you got to have room for support and stuff like that. So, you know, it's worth a try. Obviously, have you already sent your model to him to take a look at?
No, he hasn't even opened his box up yet. So.
Okay. So he's super new. Okay, yeah. Give that some time for sure. If you feel like sending it over to me, I'll take a look at it for both resin and filament and see if I can offer you some feedback on that. But, you know, whenever, I don't care. It's up to you.
Yeah, I know for a fact that the motor has to be printed in resin, so I was thinking I'd let him try that one first. Plus, it's very tiny, so if we wreck something, it's not that much. Where I think the pump will end up using a bit of material.
Yeah. He, like you said, he's gonna want to cut his teeth on some of the simpler things to learn how supports work and learn how exposure works and all that stuff before he looks at the truck for sure.
For sure. Yeah. No. I didn't even ask him if he wanted to do the truck. So.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Kyle.
No problem.
I hope to see you again soon. Yes, sir.
Talking about resin.
Yeah.
Do you have any experience with resins for bodies?
I've printed a couple bodies, but I've only used the standard Elegoo, gray resin. It wasn't high impact resin. I do have some high impact resin, the Tech blue type resin, but it makes the entire house stink, and my wife hates when I use it. So I don't just experiment with it. I wait until I absolutely need to use that. And I don't scratch build cars, so have not printed a body with that yet.
Okay. Because it's too rigid now.
What are you printing with?
Anycube resin, standard.
Okay. Yeah. The standard resin tends to be brittle and rigid and not suitable for bodies or chassis. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but there's all kinds of resins, so it's not whether or not resin printing works, it's whether or not you get the right resin for the job.
Yeah.
You can get flexible resin, and people will mix flexible resin with standard resin or with high impact resin or whatever. They'll experiment and figure out a good mixture that they'll have to figure out cure times. That's where the experimenting comes from, and ratios, more or less of one versus the other. But then once they get a good ratio and a good cure time and all that stuff, they could end up with a body or chassis that's very much like an injection molded ABS chassis. So, but not me.
But did you have seen that?
Oh yeah, there's people out there doing it. Yeah,
okay.
go to. I think there's probably more 3D printing activity on Slot Racer online.
Yeah.
And there's some guys on there that are printing lots of resin things, and I know Brian does a lot of resin printing. I don't know if he's experimented with mixing or different types of resin. Brian, you there?
Yeah, I haven't at this point. I've had pretty good luck with the Elegoo ABS. It's pretty good. It's pretty forgiving. But like you said, a lot of guys like to mix a little bit of that Tech 20 to 30% in with their ABS. Seem to get pretty good results.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it can be done. It's just a matter of doing the experimenting and testing, and that can get expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
If you don't want to get concoctions, try the ABS light. It seems to be a good medium of flexibility and strength. So if you just wanted to go with one to get started, I would recommend the ABS light.
Yeah.
ABS type.
Yeah, instead of standard resin, get that stuff that says ABS like.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't tried ABS like myself yet, so. But I don't listen to me for experience on that kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks for chipping in, Brian. And it looks like we're ready to move on to Garth. What you got today, Garth?
I got a show and tell, and I'm going to share the screen.
Yeah, take it away.
Got that?
Yep, wheels.
Yeah, I got the first batch of my new wheel.
Very nice.
And I bought 25 of the 4-spoke version and 25 blanks so I can make prototypes with.
And 143 or 132nd?
132nd. It's same size as a slot dot it, 15-inch diameter. So it's 15.8 diameter with 8.3 width. And I was a little disappointed in the way they machined the front of this here. With the tooling marks and that, but I got around that by polishing it a little bit. Okay, and I put it on a few cars, so I got a few photos of that.
Yeah, go for it.
There's the first car with the painted version of it. Okay, and they came up pretty good painted. Okay, couple shots of it. Okay. And there's the just a plain version of it stuck on the on an F40. And there's a same wheel painted on a slotted McLaren. We got same thing.
Those look great to me. Are there any changes you want to make for the next run, or do you think they're ready to go?
Well, the test was really for the logistics of it. You know, how to get it, how to buy it, how to get it quoted, and that. So there's going to be. I am ready to go. I can really drive the price down by buying a lot of them at one time. So, and I've raced them, and they race pretty well. So there's a version of it that I cleaned the rim up took the paint off the rims, and that's a Toyota 88. I just put it on a bunch of different cars to show what it looked like.
Yeah.
Do they fit a regular 332 axle, or do they fit an NSR 332?
It's a regular 32, drill blank or slot dotted axle.
And so they'll be a little loose on an NSR axle. And what size set screw did you use?
2 millimeter.
Okay.
2 set screws, one from each side. Or, 2 set screw holes.
2 set screw holes. Okay.
This is on an F40. Okay. I really like it on the F40.
GT40.
GT40.
GT40. And then the last photo here is the wheels that I have normally on an F40. Okay. So that's what I use on the F40. So anyway,
those are the CBD wheels, right?
Yeah, the last one was the CB design wheels. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, what is your plan for marketing and/or selling?
My plan is to probably I'm gonna have two other versions of the same 4-spoke wheel. 17 with 8 width and 17 with 10 width, and that's aimed at the Ferrari F40 because I got a lot of Ferrari F40s, and then one other version of it for 143rd cars. And I'm just gonna get a whole bunch of them at one crack, but it takes a little while to get them. So,
are you gonna start a Facebook page or a website, or just sell them to friends like through here, or what?
I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm doing the thing so I get the wheels that I want.
Sure.
And
you get a whole lot more than you need, right?
Yeah, and then I'll just sell off the ones that that I end up having to buy because so I don't know how it's going to all go, but
Okay. I was just asking if you had a plan.
And I've got like I said, I've got the blank wheels, and I have a local guy, good friend of mine, who's got a CNC shop. So having blank wheels will allow me to do prototypes on the spoke design and so on.
And having blank wheels allows us to put an insert in them too, right?
Yes. And hey, if I sell them, I might have a whole bunch of them. I was advised by the guy who was brokering the thing for me that the best way to sell them is to try to sell them on eBay. So that I don't know.
Oh no, I would put them on the forums rather than eBay.
Yeah. If you just picked your favorite forum and said, okay, I've got these wheels, they fit, this is the size of them, they fit this kind of axle, this is how much it is per pair or set or however you want to sell them.
Exactly.
You'll be selling them hand over fist.
Just be prepared, you'll make tens of dollars.
Yeah. Well, like you said, he's not doing it for the money, he's doing it to get the wheels he wants, and he's just going to have a whole bunch of extra to
and Garth, remember to demand payment, PayPal, friends and family.
There is a risk.
It's counted toward taxes and all kinds of other stuff. So make sure they pay you friends and family.
So just to be on the other side of that coin, I don't tell people one way or the other. About half of my payments come through friends and family versus goods and services. Goods and services has a protection, for the buyer and seller, because, based on that.
Okay. But you realize you're going to have to pay taxes on anything over $600 this year?
Yes, which is the other thing that I was going to say. And it doesn't matter if it's paid by friends and family or goods and services. You're going to have to pay income. Yes.
Really?
Yes. They're not going to let you get away with friends and family. If they have any inkling that you're doing goods and services as friends and family payments, they'll shut your account down and freeze your all of the money in your account. I know this from multiple people in other hobbies that used to demand friends and family payments because they don't want to pay those fees. PayPal just shuts your account down. If they get a hint that you're doing that, they're going to come in and freeze your account, and you are SCREWED screwed when that happens.
There's a difference between PayPal fees and taxes, right?
There is, absolutely. Yeah.
And PayPal are not determining whether you need to pay tax or not.
Correct.
What PayPal has to do, as far as I understand this whole thing, is that if you have transactions more than $600, they have to submit a 1099-K to the IRS.
Right.
And then you have to justify to the IRS how much of that is hobby-related income and how much of it is business.
And it doesn't even matter if it's hobby related or not. If the IRS gets a thing that says you got however many thousands of dollars in payments, regardless of what they're for, you're going to have to include that in your income tax return as other income of some sort, right?
Or you're going to have to justify whether it's income or whether it's not income.
Gotcha.
Yeah, good luck with that.
No, I mean, if you sell something, if I sell a car, I don't have to. That I own, I don't have to show that as income.
All I know is
Anyway.
if Al Capone taught us anything, it's you can get away with everything except not paying your taxes.
Yeah,
true.
What about just selling them outright? I mean, could I get away with that? Just just sell them to people on the chat or something.
How are you going to get the money?
Right. That's the key, is how you're going to be paid, whether you use PayPal, and what's it called?
Venmo,
Cash App,
Zelle.
Any of those things, you're going to get caught.
The
rules
$10.99.
changed.
The rules changed. So
it used to be $20,000. It's now $600.
Yeah, I am not a lawyer, but yeah.
You did stay at a Holiday Inn last night.
I play one on TV, but yeah, it's not as you're not going to get away with, because basically they're wanting to prevent people from doing these home businesses, small home businesses that are only making a few thousand a year from doing that without paying taxes on it.
Right. They want their cut. Period.
Want their cut.
So
Yeah.
do you Greg? Do you think that PayPal is the way to go?
I mean, it's convenient, it's ubiquitous. You're gonna have to figure out a way to to tell, if you use PayPal and you exceed that, whatever it is now, $600 or maybe less, I don't know, they're gonna send the government that you've got this much money through people paying you money. It's your job to decide what you tell the IRS.
Right.
And
yeah, I don't really care too much. I think if it gets to beyond 600, it's going to be way beyond 600. Okay.
Exactly. I went way beyond 600 last year. I'm pretty sure I went beyond the other limit, the previous limit last year. So this year I'm going to have to make sure that however they think it needs to be declared, we just say other income or whatever, however.
Previous limit was $20,000. So
okay, I didn't hit that limit.
I'm impressed if you went beyond that limit.
No, I definitely didn't get that much, but still, it's beyond the new limit, that's for sure.
Well, just keep track of your expenses. You offset it with your expenses, so just keep track of your expenses to go along with the cost of goods sold.
True.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets tricky, because I've never been treating this as a business. I've not been tracking.
Well, you need to now.
No, I don't. I can still treat it as the garage sale guy, who just sells, who just does garage sales. The difference is, and again, I am not a lawyer. My understanding is that the difference is it doesn't matter if you're running it as a business. You now have this. They are going to tell the IRS that you have money coming in from sources, and you're going to have to admit to the IRS that you've got that money coming in from sources, and tell them what it's for, so that they can decide whether or not you have to pay taxes on it. There's probably going to be some checkbox when you're filling out the form, this was income derived from selling of personal property or something like that, or whatever. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes quite nice to have a multi-hundred collection of slot cars that you can sell.
Well,
again, for Garth, make sure you keep track of all the expenses and investments that you're putting into developing that, and that's exactly what you offset.
Well, that's like millions.
Okay, there you go. So you'll have no taxes.
So you'll be good to go. So rather than continuing to provide poor tax advice on the slot car chat, we're going to go ahead and stop talking about that and just say, check your resources and decide for yourself. Moving along, and we look forward to hearing more on the wheels from Garth in the future. What you got today, Paul?
Well, I don't know if I've shown it before, but I finally finished it.
So pretty.
Ooh, the black one.
Tell us more.
That was a Carrera.
So is that a gift for Greg?
Oh,
no.
Carrera party.
Paul likes blue and yellow too. It's not just.
I love blue and yellow. But I'm doing it. I'm waiting on a set of the sideways Porsche Moby wheels, because they've got the same set. They've got the cone centers in them. Apparently, they're out of stock everywhere. So that's the only thing I'm waiting for. But she's all right, and she does go like a shot. Goes like a sculpted cat.
What was
it? Sorry?
Go ahead, Dennis.
What chassis and pod and so on? Give us the technical details.
Right. The chassis is an Amato chassis. It's one of the local English 3D printed chassis.
Mm-hmm.
That's a slotted pod, slotted motor.
That's it.
It's the flat 6 black.
Yeah.
That's a RS.
Yeah, that's an enormous motor.
Yeah. That is it.
Drives like hell.
Goes like a rocket.
I like the chassis though. It looks really good.
It is a lovely chassis. I'll go and get a screwdriver in a minute, and I'll unscrew it, and you can see what. But you have to chop all the posts out of the car. The car is absolutely butchered, and considering it's quite a rare car over here, it's I don't care. I'll race it. It's not a shelf queen.
Yeah,
So-
take it apart and show us the inside, definitely.
All right, I'll go and get a screwdriver.
All right. Okay, we'll go on to Karsten while you're doing that. What do you got today, Karsten?
Yeah, it's something different, but since we are on Zoom, I wanted to share something we did here locally last year. We were all in a hard lockdown, and of course we could not have any club meets or anything. But we raced on Zoom, and we all have the LapMaster system, and that can connect via the internet, so that we all race in the same race at the same time. And of course, the lap times for these three different tracks are not the same, so it doesn't make sense to compare laps. But LapMaster has another feature that can convert laps into points, and we do that based on the lap record that you have on the track. So if you run perfectly, then you earn 1 point a second. If you run slower than that, you earn less. And then we can compare this. And after the race, then we adjust the factor. So after 3 races, we had pretty close racing, even though we were several miles from each other. One guy at a track. So the first track, by the way, is the club track. We call it the Targa Florio. It's in a different location now, but we still have that track. And the second track is the track I had last year. I moved since then, so I don't have that track anymore.
Are you just to be clear? Are you showing pictures?
Oh, yeah.
You didn't finish the share process.
Oh, sorry.
And can you follow this online? With if somebody is making a race on the track?
Yeah, we had video cameras and Zoom meeting so that we could see it, and we have the LapMaster system connecting all the tracks into one lap counter. Can you see the picture now?
Yeah.
Okay. So we had the Targa Florio, we had my track, and the third guy had a sort of a home track, basically made on a door in his living room. And vastly different tracks, but still we could have very meaningful races together like this.
Wow.
So you invented COVID racing.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think it's awesome.
So I'm just sharing the idea. So yeah. But if you have the LapMaster system, then it's all in the system that you can connect the tracks via the internet into sort of a multi-user game, if you like. So I'm just sharing that idea.
So just so I understand correctly, basically each track establishes a lap time, their best lap essentially, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I'm on my track, I'll race a car around and I get 6.5 is my best lap.
Yes.
And I can get 6.55, I can get 6.45, I can, it's basically around 6.5.
Yeah.
So then I put that into the software so that the system knows that that's my target lap time. And then the other guys do the same thing.
Yes.
And then do you set so when you start the race, is it a timed race, like 10 minutes or 15 minutes?
Yeah, timed race.
And then
every lap that you get, then you get your 6.5 points.
As long as I'm near the 6.5 enough within a certain.
No. Think of it like rather than getting one lap, then you get 2.5 points. Every lap I have on my track, and that's a 4-second track, I get 4 points.
Okay, but what if my 6.5 is my target, but then I run a 7-second lap?
Yeah.
I get 7 points?
No, if you run if you are 7 seconds on a lap, then you still only get the 6.5, and you sort of lost the half because you are slower. Anyway, when the race is over, then maybe you got 100 laps, and rather than the time, we can also put in that you got 100 laps on 3 minutes of racing or whatever. And I got 150 on because my track is shorter, and we put that in. But because we adjust the factor after every race, in 2 or 3 races, we have adjusted the difference between the tracks. So it really comes down to if you are better than you were the last time or not. So the one guy that improves the most in respect to what he had done previously, he will sort of win the session.
Cool.
But it works
it's like golf with a handicap.
It's sort of a handicap system, you can say that, yes.
Yeah, I was wondering if
it aligns very well. So in 2 or 3 races, you have really hard races going on. You really need to be on your toe, or the other guy will beat you.
And how many people, how many tracks at once could be doing this?
There's no theoretical limit. We did it with 4 tracks, up to 4 tracks during this lockdown. But there's really no reason we could do it with as many tracks as we want. And the start of every heat is synchronized, so that we race at the same time as well.
Yeah.
We lane change. So these are 4-lane tracks. We also had an 8-lane in there, so we had to go around twice on our 4-lane tracks rather than the guy that raced on an 8-lane track. But
Is that like racing around the world?
Yeah. I had a dream that we should arrange a worldwide race sometime, a real worldwide race, and maybe we should try to do it as a 24-hour race. Then also the time zones would not mean as much.
But did you also make some grades? Because my best lap time is probably with a Mosler, but tomorrow we're gonna race with Ninko Classics. So
then you have to establish a new baseline for whatever car you want to race next time. But you can do that.
Yeah, but you mean so I set a new time for my Ninko Classic as best time?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I understand. Yeah, nice.
So if you decide that today I want to race this kind of car, you can do that, and we can race Skeletor cars against Flexi Super 16, I don't know, wooden track race car, wing cars for that matter.
Yeah.
But because of this handicap system, we can make races that actually make sense still.
Huh. Nice.
That sounds like Luff's handicap system, only he doesn't do it.
Yeah, it's a
virtually.
bracket racing as such, isn't it, John? Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
So basically it comes down to, are you able to get the most out of that particular car you're racing?
Yeah, and improve.
Okay.
Good stuff. All right, thanks for sharing.
What if you spec'd a track like Scale Electrics? Obviously, most people have some track, and like a 3-foot by 6-foot track, all the same layout.
Yeah, we did that.
Also do that.
Now, that was
but the
one thing.
idea is that here we can match very unmatched track and still get something sensible out of it.
Yeah, I think that's probably the better way to go for that kind of thing that Jim was just talking about. We did that in several years ago with RCS 64 for Skeletor Digital. At the time, he had written in the ability for RCS 64 to report to a web server, and then we could watch, the results come in from other racers. So we did as a worldwide Skeletor Digital race where we did design we as a group, we designed a layout that all of the participants would be able to create with the track that they had on hand. And then several locations around them. I think we had 4, and then we had some technical difficulties and only had 3 actual racing at the time. It was hard to come up with a track that everybody could do that wasn't just an oval. It was hard to come up with a time that everybody could do because we had Australia, we had United States, we had the UK, and then technical difficulties of the internet connection and lap reporting and everything. It was fun. I think we did it as it was an endurance race, so it was I think it was 4 hours total from start to finish. It was a challenge to coordinate all that. So I definitely think that Karsten's way of basically allowing any track to be in the same race that way is pretty clever. And that's definitely something worth a try. I'm sure if anybody wanted to organize something, Karsten would be happy to help.
Okay, thank you for listening.
All right, anybody else got any questions for Karsten before we go back to Paul? Hearing none, Paul, show us that car. Show us the insides.
That is, and if you look at the front, it's got the, I don't know if you can, it's got the bronze bushes out the back of the slot. So they're so that's the same as, probably the same as what you could use on the NSR Porsches.
Doesn't quite fit.
Yeah, a little bit
tight.
But that pops in through the large hole and it runs up in a channel through the whole of the front suspension. And you've got the adjustment on the top and the adjustment on the bottom. But it is a lovely, lovely chassis. It really is. And the car, as you say, it's all the posts were chopped out. I literally stripped the car completely and used what bits I could probably get back on to make it. The only thing is the engine detail on the back was missing. So I'm going to use an NSR 917 detail. Going back to, I was saying about the slot it.
I don't see Dremel marks.
Sorry?
I don't see Dremel marks.
On what?
Dremel. on your body.
On the body.
You can lose 100 grams.
There's nothing dremeled. All the posts were just chopped. And then new posts glued in, which come with the chassis. So the chassis is actually designed for that car. It just goes straight. All you do is just chop the posts out. But I had to take all the front off to actually get it all to sit in properly, nicely. Then I put them back on as best I can. Just knocked out one of the rear supports, but it does. It just goes. There's no filing whatsoever on that.
And it's Carrera, wasn't it?
Sorry?
It was Carrera, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a Carrera one at one stage.
What's his weight now then?
Lighter, a lot lighter.
Who made the chassis?
And it goes better.
Who makes that chassis, Paul?
It's an Amato chassis. What I'll do is I'll dig out his website details and I'll put it in the chat.
It's okay, I know Amato.
That's all right then. But that he was talking about the rear suspension in the slottets. Excuse the tires; they're so sticky at the moment. They're it's ready for Friday.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can see the.
Yeah.
So are you using a spring or magnet?
Springs, just springs. I can't know if you can.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see it.
And that again is that's all set for Friday's race. And then going back to I was saying, this has been a battle. It was destroyed on a 6-hour race. All the back of it got smashed right off of it. But again, it's all. And this one's actually got where the flange bearings are. The slotted flange ball race sets actually fit. So I've got ball races in the back of it, and it comes second in the 6-hour. So that was a nice little drive.
For the rest of us, if somebody could drop a link to the Amato chassis or Amato web store or something like that, that'd be helpful, and I'll put that in.
He's on what's the big 3D printing site you can get?
Shapeways.
Shapeways. He's on Shapeways as well.
Okay.
And that's the body for the, as you can see, it's blue and yellow. Minus its wings because they fell off. That's an Lancia body. And there's no interference on that suspension on the back whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, well, that's it. But
there is
that's
two slight differences with the Amato chassis. I've got a couple. The ones that Angelo does himself are really good. They're ideal for wood tracks. I've got a Bentley with a angle winder in it that I run to Oxford on a plexi track. And I've also got a couple of his 3D ones from Shapeways. The Shapeways ones are more flexible, more suitable for Ninko type tracks, plastic tracks. But they are brilliant. And they're cheap, and they work.
And they last longer than a JS one.
JS chassis, those are filament printed. That makes sense. You know, the Shapeways is nylon, sintered nylon, so it's going to be about as strong as it can be.
Well, you see what happened to those cars when I had them on, didn't you? Those ones when they all fell apart. But yeah, no, I tell you, that goes. I took it down to East Devon, and that was running just under 5 around their lap on their track, and I can get it just above 4 on mine, and my track's a bit just about, I don't know, about 10 foot shorter, but it's more. I've got 3 straights on mine, whereas they've just got 1 big long straight at East Devon. But that's like a scalded cat where it goes. It's good. I enjoyed it.
Nice. Good stuff. Anybody got any last questions for Paul before we move on? Hearing none, let's shift gears and talk Club Corner. Has anybody got any past, present, or future club-related activities they want to talk about? Jim's got his virtual hand up. What you got today, Jim?
Let's see here. See if I can get this shared. Oh, it's not letting me share for some reason.
Well, it's not a security setting.
That's where it took me. Well, let me just share the screen. It's not letting me share anything right now.
That is very strange. Let me make sure that you didn't get unshared for some reason.
You didn't pay your taxes, Jim.
That's what it is. No,
you weren't supposed to say that.
There's nothing.
Sorry.
Nothing on my end preventing you from sharing, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm just getting exclamation points on everything that's shared. It's not letting me.
Okay, you wanna drop out and rejoin? Maybe that'll kick your something back into gear. I don't know.
Yeah, let me try that.
Okay, we'll talk to you in a minute. Anybody else got any Club Corner things they want to talk about? I don't know if you guys saw the video that I posted yesterday we just started our Thunder Slot series, and as I mentioned earlier in the chat, I finally got my lazy butt around to actually doing the blueprinting on the Thunder Slot, discovering all sorts of interesting little details about Thunder Slot cars that I didn't notice before. I did try the flower trick on the rear tires as I was doing that, but I was also being very, very conservative with my truing because I know that those tires are going to be tricky. So I can't say one way or the other if it was my conservative application of the tire truing or the application of the flower, but I got the tires trued enough for me. And my car ran nice and smooth on that wood-routed track that you see in the video. That's Blair's track. So I don't know,
So you use the stock tires and stock air system rims?
Correct.
Did you put a foam insert at all?
No, I did not.
And it ran well.
It ran very nicely. We run at fairly low voltage. Our tracks tend to be short and twisty, versus long. So I think the track was at just under 12 volts, 11.9 volts or something like that. One thing I will say is that I had a hard time, I didn't try everything, but I had a hard time getting the wheels to stick, the tires to stick to the wheels. My first glue was the Gorilla Glue Super Glue. I think it's got an orange cap, not the blue cap, but the orange cap Super Glue. It's rubberized. I thought it would work. It just peeled off like there was nothing sticking them together at all. I was really surprised by that because I usually think Gorilla Glue is sticking too much, not enough. So when I noticed that, this was before I trued them, fortunately. So I noticed that, I peeled them off, cleaned them up, got all this, rubbery bits of Gorilla Glue off. And then I went with nail polish because I had that to hand. And I wanted to be able to, turn the tires on the wheels to distribute the glue, the nail polish more evenly. Super glue bonds so quickly, and I don't have any of that fancy activator or UV glue or anything to try. The nail polish seemed to work, so I didn't pull hard to try to see if it'll stay on no matter what. I'm just like, okay, well, I'm gonna true them so conservatively that if they come off, it's going to be during racing, not during truing, which is probably why I also did not true them as much as I normally do. Like both tires there are still patches where you can see some of the tire tread is still there. I was just making sure I got off all the high spots, and that when I felt it, spinning on the truing machine, it wasn't vibrating my finger up and down. It felt relatively smooth with my finger on it. And then I stopped. So if they come loose and I need to re-glue and re-true them, I won't be truing through them, hopefully.
Greg, have you ever thought of trying 3D printing resin?
3D printing what?
Resin.
Oh, to hold the tires to the wheels?
Or to make them zero traction?
Zero. No, that's a good one. Have you tried that?
No. I just, you said you didn't have any resin on hand or resin glue. What's the difference between the resin glue and the resin we print with, really? They both cure with resin. So I thought, I'm sorry, I might have misunderstood. I thought you were using it to coat the outside of the tire, and that's what I meant. Have you ever thought to try the resin on that?
I have not, and that's worth a try at some point. I've always, my go-to for coating the outside of the front wheels to reduce traction, front tires to reduce traction is cheapo super glue, not Gorilla Glue, not nail polish, just straight super glue. And I have it spinning slowly on my machine and just put a drop in and let my finger smear it around. Then I might I might sand that a little bit and do another application of that, but I've never had problems with cheap super glue. I have had problems with nail polish that a lot of people use. If the tires are soft enough, the nail polish will crack and peel. But
one nice thing about the printing resin, though, is you definitely make sure you get it where you want it before you cure it.
That's the nice thing about the resin, yeah, is that you won't get it into places. Well, if you do, you can clean it up before you cure it. I would think that it would probably take some experimenting to figure out like how much to use before you try to cure it. Just like the thinnest possible coat before you cure it, and then maybe multiple coats, or maybe a particular resin is better than another resin. Yeah, give that a try, Brian. Let us know how it works.
Tried the false nail glue.
I've not tried this false nail glue, not the adhesive for fake nails, no.
That's pretty strong.
Is that what you use for putting tires on wheels?
No, I haven't tried it on the tires. I've tried it on other things. It works pretty good.
Did you use stock gearing, Greg?
Yeah, it's pretty much stockity stock car. We rarely have anything in the rules that allow anything besides
I like that
tire stuff.
And those thunder slots with the stock gears, the stock motor, they are they handle so well.
Yeah,
that's what believe it or not, I've won the last 4 non-mag races at Big Lou's, which is a magnet class racetrack, with a thunder slot.
Yeah, I absolutely believe it. And
stock motor.
I did use a hex wrench rather than a star to remove the body screws, because I didn't realize that it was a star. I was very careful not to strip it, but yeah, I'll be sure and use a star bit of appropriate size next time. But one thing I did appreciate about the thunder slot was that the screws are tuner screws. They've got a smooth shaft for half of the screwing, and a nice deep pocket for them to go into in the chassis, and plenty of length in that screw to hold the body post nice and strong, no matter how loose you make that. I mean, before I got it to the way I like it, and I haven't done a whole lot of testing and tuning with regards to how loose everything is, but I was like, I noticed that you could have the screw secure in the body post and probably move them apart by 4 or 5 millimeters. Just like you could look through the top of the chassis, that you could get them so far apart from one another, and it's still fully secure, and you're not going to drop a screw in during racing, and it's not going to break or anything. I was like, dang, that's a lot of leeway for however tight or loose you want pretty much anything.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Greg.
Yeah, sure.
That was the Can-Am car we done, which was the backup car for the NSR 91710. That's a Thunderslot white kit.
Uh-huh.
Amato chassis.
And another Amato. You didn't like the Thunderslot chassis? You had to use.
This handle's better because it's more stiffer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But he actually printed that specially for the race we done. There was only 2 cars done with that chassis, and we never used it because we used the 917.
I mean, I might play around with more of that stuff if we always raced on the same track or same types of track. But our club races on plastic and wood, so basically I need it to run well on plastic, and if it runs well on plastic, it's pretty much going to run pretty.
Well, I've got the Lola Coupe, and that done a 6-hour race as well. But the tyres, the actual Thunderslot tyres, destroyed. It didn't even last the full 6 hours. And I phoned up or sent an email off to Thunderslot saying, "We say, oh no, we do special compounds for them." And I said, "Well, it's got NSR rubber on it now." He just didn't bother replying after that.
Yeah, I can't imagine why he wouldn't respond.
I can't imagine why. But no, that one does go well.
Did you use the normal black chassis?
You're talking about me?
The from the Thunderslots, there are normally the black chassis.
Yeah, we race them out of the box, pretty much.
Okay, we raced them at our club about 2 years ago, the first one. We skipped them because they wouldn't run on a wooden track. Too much flex.
What voltage do you run at?
Yeah, 12 volt, but a lot of amps. But no, they were on the track for a year about something like that, and even the best builders, they couldn't do nothing with it. We tried the gray ones, the harder ones. We built some strength in it, but at the end they were unpredictable, or on our track. And if I run it on a Carrera track, it's the best car I have.
Did you guys change the motors when you were running them on those wood tracks?
No, same motors.
Same motor, same gearing. So out of the box, and they wouldn't perform on a wood track.
They perform, but they're unpredictable.
Wow.
So
no, I found these very predictable.
Yeah, on my Carrera track, it's one of the best.
Weird. It must have been a tire compound thing.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, everybody at the club loves them. Everybody's super excited to move to Thunderslot away from the Pioneer Legends. They were so done with those.
That's a big difference.
The magnetic downforce on the Carrera track?
They don't even come with magnets. Thunderslots don't come with magnets. And
probably have a motor.
Maybe. I mean, my club was running them on a wood track the other night, so but it's copper tape. So
no, we don't have copper tape. We have magnet braid.
Oh.
So that will work also.
Yeah. Well, ours was copper, and they ran great.
No,
mine's copper.
Everybody's super excited about the Thunderslot series.
But we all race at our club mostly very hard chassis, because the track is unforgivable.
Yeah. What kind of surface is on the track?
Yeah.
Paint?
Shall I say paint?
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
It might be whatever kind of paint it is, just has too much traction for those tires, and so you get chatter and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe. Yeah.
All right, and I'm done with talking about my club activities. Jim, do you want to give Sharon another try? Yes, and don't call me Sharon.
See what's happening here.
Yeah, quit calling him Sharon.
Here we go. Now we can see it.
Okay, we had our first race of the year this last week. Minimum turnout. We're having COVID issues here, so we had about 6 people. But Silicon City Speedway is a 4-lane wood routed track, and the Thunderslots run just awesome on this track. So I'm guessing the issue that you had was probably the surface of the track is just too bitey for those because they are kind of flimsy chassis, but they sure run good on our track. Mike always has stuff to sell. used car lot is available for anybody in the infield, except, can you see the cursor or not?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think this one's for sale, but I think everything else is. We had Trans Am, so we had a pretty varied grid. The Camaros were up front as usual. Group C grid, same car ran on Electric Dreams. It still has the lane stickers from Electric Dreams Enduro. I did have to change it quite a bit over to our rules from Electric Dreams, so that was a good race we had. We did do the Classic Le Mans, and Frank, if you've got a P68 on the right track, these things are absolutely almost unbeatable. They are really, really quick.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
So we had a couple NSRs, one Thunder slot. A couple of the other guys didn't have them. These are actually fly cars, and then my P68.
Yeah, the last time we ran slotted classics, everybody else had a P68. Like everybody switched to P68.
Yeah, they're really good. I'm a Ford guy, so I like it, even though the real car was terrible. But they look like they shouldn't work because they've got that really long overhang in the back, but they work really good. I do think the Thunder Slot is a faster car, though, all things considered.
Yeah.
The
There's
F1
something
grid,
about, there's something about cars that in real life were terrible that actually become really good slot cars. There's quite a lot of that around.
Yeah.
And Greg, you meant NSR classics, right?
Sorry, my bad. You're right. Yeah, NSR classics.
You were confusing me.
I know. I used the wrong words.
We did F1 also. We had 3 cars. This is one of my backup cars that are, from the factory. And a couple of guys showed up. I was very happy with my Camel Lotus, which is not the NSR car. It's a custom built. And then these guys showed up with this car, which is gorgeous. And this one would have taken the concourse by far, custom built, helmet, hand done, not one of the ones you can buy, which are really nice too. But just an awesome showing by some of the new guys with building some of the F1 cars. That being said, this was the test for this race. And we've talked about these tires in the past, but the AES 25s from Scale Auto. And this is the way they come out of the package. When I first took them out of the package, I thought I'd ordered silicone tires by mistake.
They sure look like it.
They are shiny. They're perfectly round. You can see the mold marks here. But they're not, I put them in my truer and they true fine. They ball up just a little bit. And I've heard some people on the forum say they ball up a lot. I didn't have that problem, although they did ball up a little bit, but not anything that wasn't, controllable. So I treated them like I normally do. I only had a couple of days, so I put about, over the course of 3 days, probably 5 or 6 coats of NSR oil on them. When I put them on the Group C car, it seems like the actual rubber is thinner than NSR. So when I put them on non-air wheels, they were fairly hard because there just isn't a lot of rubber in the actual tread itself. And they ran pretty good on the Group C car with non-air wheels, within a 1/10 or 2 of my NSR tires, but not spectacular. But when I put them on air wheels on the P68, they ran really good, almost right out of the box. They matched the times of the NSR Super Grips right away. It was about 10 or 15 minutes maximum of running on them. And I did notice, because this is a predominantly left-hand corner track with a bunch of sweepers, that the car immediately got very comfortable with the left-hand turns. And I think the reason is that the right-hand tire, because it's loaded more, broke in faster. The left-hand turns, it was a little loose. The right-hand turns, it was locked in. So I swapped the tires and that changed it. Just kind of what I thought. So now the left-hand corners were locked in. And so now it's starting to break in the right-hand tire a little bit more. Ran it in the race and I was able to beat the Thunder Slot. So some people have called these tires miracle tires. I don't think they're that, but they are really good. And so hopefully they'll get into the United States at some point in time because they're definitely worth trying. And if we can't get non-Evo Super Grips, this may be the next best thing.
Did you run foam inserts?
No, I never run foam inserts, contrary to what other people do. I've never done it. I don't think it's honestly, I don't think it's the right thing to do. Having said that, I've never tried it. but based on my RC experience, we always developed more grip without inserts. So I've not tried. I should try it just because I shouldn't make that statement without trying it. But I've never used inserts.
Well, you got to use what works for you.
Yeah. Well, on the track, like Henry was saying, thunder slots don't work on his track, but man, they work everywhere else. So it's obviously it's not him because he knows what he's doing, obviously, but because it works on his Carrera track, but that particular track just doesn't like a soft chassis. So that was our first race of the year. We've got another a NorCal Challenge race between the Bay Area and Sacramento this weekend. And so we've got some stuff going on.
Good stuff, Jim. Thanks for sharing. I see Gaza jumped on. It's crack of dawn in Gaza's neck of the woods. Did you have anything you wanted to show and tell or any club corner you want to share, Gaza? Nah, all right. We'll move on. Frank has his hand up. What's going on, Frank?
Well, we had our first far out non-magnet race this last Saturday. Devon came over from Las Vegas. We had 20 racers show up, even in the middle of this COVID scare in LA. But it is in Glendale. Pitting is outside. Stephen Far Out's Jones' track is in the garage with big double door open. So nobody was really worried about, well, maybe somebody was worried about COVID, but nobody said anything. But we had a good time. We raced 2 classes. We raced Revo Slot and NSRF1. And I had fun. I won't tell you where I placed, but I had fun. But it was really good. I was very surprised at the amount of people that showed up. 20 racers for the first race is really good.
Yeah. Anybody get any pictures? Dewan, you get any pictures? No?
Eddie Shore put a bunch of photos and video on Facebook.
Okay. Yes. So look up Eddie's Facebook to see some of that.
And on Far Out Slot Cars Facebook page. It's all there.
Awesome. Sounds like a plan. Did you have fun, Dewan?
Very consistent. Well, actually, I was only half a lap behind the second to the last person. There we go.
Why?
You know what? That's a thing, you know?
There's spin and then there's whiplash.
And I was teasing Dewan because I loaned him my NSR F1 white car and my Viper in Revo Slot, and I said, you can't beat me now. I barely beat him in one of the classes. So
yeah, well,
it's one of those days for racing.
Yeah, so I need to practice with my own car. So I'm planning on getting my cars and working out with them because it was really just a big unknown factor, more so than anything else, in my opinion. But I just made just a bad driver, period.
I was gonna say you're still pretty new to competitive slot car racing, anyways,
exactly.
Right? Yeah. I was just gonna say Henry had a question for Karsten. Do you want to ask that question and have Karsten answer that question so we get a video?
Yes, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
What sort of interface do I use? We have our eye sensors. Do you have to put the times in an Excel sheet for to compare, or do you do it register LapMaster it?
LapMaster comes with its own hardware, and it's basically made for analog racing. I did get a Carrera digital set at some time, and I created all the necessary interface so that I could make it count on a Carrera digital track as well, but it's not really suited for digital. In the LapMaster program, you put in the calculation. You do not have to do it in something else. Let me share this 1 second.
Because I'm talking to the guys now on WhatsApp, looking at Zoom, and yeah, they found it a great idea. Because we are 6 months closer every year.
Yeah. Hopefully I'm sharing the LapMaster race screen now.
Wonderful.
And Can you see the pop-up as well?
Sure.
Yes, okay. Okay. Sort of. Where did that go? I'm missing a screen. 1 second.
Nice background.
Yeah. LapMaster has a scoreboard, and by the way, this can be shown on the internet as well on a web page. And basically, you can connect tracks. And when you connect tracks, then there's this handicap calculator. And you can either go by lap time, or you can say, okay, we ran a 4 times 3 minute race, and you got so many laps. So you put in the number of laps that you got and the time that you use, and then it can calculate this point factor for you. And that goes to your version of LapMaster. And then every track has started up their LapMaster program, and they will see it on the scoreboard. They will see the results coming in real time from all the other tracks. But you cannot use the LapMaster program without the LapMaster hardware. So it's not so easy to apply it to something else.
Are you planning on releasing the Carrera digital compatible one in the future?
No.
Okay.
Carrera is if you try to search the internet for stuff on how Carrera is working, then you'll see there's almost none, and that's because they have a lot of lawyers going around hitting people on the head who tries to do anything that has to do with Carrera digital.
Yeah.
So it was purely for myself. I did do something on a theoretical plan for Skeletor from some information I got from the internet, but I have never had a chance to really try it in real life. But as I understand it, the digital guys are used to having a lot more interaction with the fuel consumption and stuff like that, and that's a no-go. It's purely a lap counter and a time that the LapMaster will provide.
Sure, understand. Thank you very much.
But LapMaster does have a facility for COVID racing, right? For social distancing, as I recall.
Yeah. Oh, that's something else. That's just if you have an 8-lane, or if you have an 8-lane track, then you can race with double distance at the racing console. So you will only be racing 4 lanes. That was something we put in by request for some, so they could race with a longer distance between people standing at the track.
Yeah, it's also very useful when you have less than 8 races.
That's a side show, yes, but you can use that, yes. But there are other means. You can do an awful lot with LapMaster. There's other means of achieving that without the social distance. You can do, that's a British variation, that's the half track, that you are only racing even tracks or odd, even lanes or odd lanes. And that's particularly interesting on a 5-lane track, but I know it's been done. Yeah, you can do a lot of exciting things like that.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question and the answer. Does anybody else have any general questions? We've got about 15 minutes left. We just open the floor if you got something you want to talk about.
I've got a question for
go ahead.
Emery. Emery, how's the donor coming?
Sorry?
How are you getting on with the donor?
The what?
The dino.
The dino.
The dino. Oh, let's see.
all going to see together.
That well.
One of the latest version built today.
Oh, good. Yes.
Yeah, it's going the right direction. I've sold already about 5 here in Holland, and I'm waiting for feedback. So if somebody found something or do something about it, or we have to change something about it, but we didn't compare it with the Kelvin Light, and it's better than the Kelvin Light.
Nice.
Because it's more accurate. Kelvin Lights counts every three times it goes around, and this one it counts 8 times, so it's more exactly. And I talk about a lot of people who had Kelvin Lights, and yeah, they break down, and they're not going to make it anymore, and they're not going to repair it for you anymore.
So connect to the computer. Can you connect it to the computer, same as Kelvin Light?
No, but I don't know anybody who does that.
Okay. And when's it coming to market?
I'm
a gadget man. I need to buy it.
Yeah, I was going to say Petrucci wants one.
Sure. We're going to talk about it because it's not easy to ship. Because about the costs, and but we're talking with one sort of party, and maybe he's interested. So we're going to figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah, we keep you posted.
I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, of course.
I'll collect mine in person.
I'll make one with your name on it.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely put Petrucci down for one.
Oh yes, I'm a gadget person. I can't figure out things without the gadget. I need the gadget to work everything out.
Yeah, definitely keep us updated on the progress on that, Henry.
I can make them in 10 colors if you want. 10 different ones.
There you go. Red, blue, green, yellow.
Tony, do you want my quick 3D printer then? It's
no, I got 2 myself. How are you getting on with your 3D printer?
Yeah, what was about that, Paul? Yeah, is it out of the box yet?
What have you printed?
It's out of the box. It's
okay.
assembled, and it's now covered in crap.
We haven't seen you for a while, so I've figured out you were trying to print something.
Yeah, come on.
I had a detached retina on my eye, and I've not been well.
Okay, well, you have an excuse now.
I've done some printing.
Oh, whoa. Hold on, keep holding that up, Petrucci. Put it back up.
No, that's one of the old ones. It's fell to pieces.
Oh, it was a body that failed, huh?
Yeah.
No, I've done some printing.
Yeah, that's not your print. All right, does anybody else have anything they want to ask about or talk about?
Well, I can tell you about the far side on my proxy.
Sure.
It went tits up, basically.
Uh-oh. What happened?
Yeah. I had some friends come over, and one of them, I won't mention any names, but one of them was done the proxy the first time the proxy come round. And this was on the 60s Skeletor cars, and his car was sent back to be repaired because the motor broke down, and he lost the ump over it, and he drove every car to destruction, basically. And then we had 24 cars in the proxy, and when it come to do all the timekeeping and everything else, there was 25 cars. Can't figure that one out. Yeah, so I'm not doing no more. I've given up. It's going to stay a private track. It's going to be for the grandchildren and close friends. And that's it. I've had my fingers burnt.
So when I come down to Cornwall, I can visit you. I can race on your track then, yeah?
Yeah. I have to bring 4 forms of identification with you. Grandparents, great-grandparents, and great-great-grandparents.
Oh, dear.
and your vaccination cards.
Say nothing about vaccines and boosters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We don't worry about that down in Somerset. They're all 3-headed down there anyway.
I forgot what kind of track you got, Paul.
It's a wooden one, 4-lane wooden one.
That's the one. That's the one you rescued, didn't it? You rescued that.
Yeah. Do you want to see some pictures of it? Because I've been working on it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've got to find them first. Give me 5 minutes.
You're gonna hold your phone up. You're gonna hold your phone up to the computer screen.
Yeah.
While he's doing that, I did find the Eddie Shore's post about the far out stuff.
Oh, you want to share that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, go ahead. There we go. And you muted yourself.
I know. Just trying to see. This was supposed to be a video, but
it looks like it played to the end, so you'd have to restart the video.
Yeah.
Just click the little rewind at the very bottom left corner, or don't. That's fine.
Or not.
But that's that really cool landscaped routed track that used to be plastic, and yeah.
You're right. And he ran it the opposite direction that we normally run this time, so it was very challenging because we hadn't run it that way in years.
Yeah, that does usually.
Yeah, he does that every now and then. I seem to recall. Right, let me try. Hang on, I've got to go back.
Featured in Model Car Racing magazine this month too.
Yeah, the weird part about that was that it's almost precisely what his 4-lane scale extra classic track was.
Yeah,
and
he even mimicked the squeeze too, didn't he?
Yeah, it's not quite the same because the squeeze at least flows. It doesn't have those acute bends that the original what's his name does. The original Goodwood chicane. All right, let me try again. Oh God, here we go. There, and then there. You probably see the whole page now.
No.
Yep.
Now. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
So that's the track, right?
Yeah, that's a heck of a turnout.
Yeah. It's like it's like 12-foot square that track, so it's quite an interesting shape.
I recognize that guy in the back left.
Yeah. It's Baba Hooley there.
Your partner in crime.
The partner in crime, yeah. And nice to see that all but 1 or 2 were masked.
Never mind the track. Look at all those cars.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. The scenery is.
Oh, don't show that, Dennis. They don't even know where I came in.
I'm trying not to, but it takes a little bit of time to get through these things.
Don't complain.
At least just those not the bottom
Move
of
it on.
I was gonna say you're right near the middle, Frank. Don't complain.
Yeah. Okay, and here's the video.
Well, that's the only one we saw, so.
Oh, good.
Yeah, a little choppy, but that's all through the. Is that on Eddie's? Yeah, that's on Ed Shore.
That's on Eddie's Facebook page. Yeah, but it's quite nice.
He just resurfaced it as well, and for being a brand new surface, it still has plenty of grip.
That's good. Yeah, the scenery is completely over the top. A lot of it was constructed by a fellow who. All right, let me stop that share. I seem to remember Bill Schneidevin did all the scenery for him this time around.
Yeah, he's a wizard with rock walls.
Yeah, isn't he hot?
When Bill builds a new track, it's basically, all right, what mountainous scenery are you going to...
Mm-hmm.
All right, Paul, you got that picture up?
Yeah, there you go.
Let me spotlight that. Oh, yeah.
All the scenery, all the green now is actually stuck down. I don't know if that's better. I don't know then.
Yeah, went to sleep on you.
Yeah.
Nice club track.
That is...
that's wood?
That's a 4-lane. I used to race on that in the 80s.
Yeah, that's where it used to be, though, right?
That's what we used to... It was Ekra then, before it went to Bresca. And that was in Margate. and it went from Margate to Swindon, Swindon to Dudley, and it's in my garage now at top of the garden.
That wasn't a picture of your garage, was it? That was a picture of where it used. That's your garage?
That is my garage. That is in my garden. That is in my garage.
Oh man, you need to get some better pictures and share them on the computer, not using your phone up.
That garage is the whole width of our garden, so it's 25 foot wide, and it's 22 foot deep. At one stage I had 7 cars in it.
All right, we gotta get you sharing pictures that we can actually see properly. So we're gonna work on that and make sure that Paul is properly showing off what he's got in there. Because
I'll tell you what, Greg, I'll send it to you.
I was just gonna say, if you don't want me to teach you how to do it on the computer, then just send them to me. I'll do it for you. No problem. You can send it to me right now. We can do that.
Yeah.
Why haven't you put them up on Facebook, Paul?
Not a lot of people know about it. So it's only 2 clubs in the area that know about it. One's East Devon and the other one is Avon. And that is
why.
How long is it, Paul?
It's 120 foot long. The straight goes from I'll send some more pictures, because the other end, as it comes past the driver's bit, you've got like an S bit, and it comes into the big sweeping corner and comes up the straight. I'll get some more pictures up. You're making me work here.
Yeah, go ahead and send me a bunch, and I'll scroll through them.
I'll send you a load, Greg.
I've raced on that. That was used to be in Dudley. Yeah, as you said, Paul, it was in Dudley, wasn't it? But Dave.
Yeah.
Bolty Dave. Yeah, it's a good track. You know, your Thunder slots, your NSR Slotted Classics on there, brilliant. You know,
it's lovely. Everyone that comes to it says that it's a lovely track to drive.
Sorry,
yeah,
Paul,
the uphill section's quite good as well.
Sorry?
I was going to ask, sorry, if you said it was in Margate. Wasn't Skeletrix in Margate?
No, that's it is Margate, but it's more around the corner a bit. But yeah, it is Margate. It's sort of Margate. But yeah. I used to go there quite a lot. I used to take all the catalogue stuff back. I used to have a big 7.5 ton lorry full of catalogue stuff, trains, Skeletrix, dolls, My Little Pony, all broken to go back, because what they couldn't sell, they pull a wheel off or break a train or snap a doll's leg, and they'd all go back into the shop. And it'd be one day's job. Just go up there, unload it all, then bring it all back, empty stuff. I had tons of stuff out there. But that's another life.
All right. Well, we're down to the last couple minutes. I think we can go ahead and stop the recording here. As always, come and join us live. It's a lot of fun. But until then, we'll wave goodbye. Everybody say bye. Bye.